Hello and welcome to my channel. It's time for a new exciting adventure full of danger, thrills and hidden treasures. We travel back in time to an era when giant creatures roamed our planet, dinosaurs. But these ancient beasts have been dead for so long that finding their remains is almost impossible. Still, there are those who devote their lives to tracking down the most incredible finds from prehistoric times. These people are known as fossil hunters. Today we are going to meet 3 fossil hunters who risked their lives to unearth real treasures of world history. Some of them became rich thanks to their dangerous findings. Others gained fame and recognition. And some had to sacrifice their lives to make their wildest dreams come true. Christopher Columbus wasn't the first European to reach the Americas. In fact, Vikings had established a settlement in Newfoundland around 500 years before Columbus arrived. The bones of these intrepid explorers lie beneath the ruins of their dwellings, but no one knows about it or has even tried to find it. Meanwhile, the discovery of Viking artifacts on the shores of North America dates back to the 18th century. But it was only in 2021 that archaeologists finally found the remains of the settlement itself. This discovery shed light on many things. For example, it revealed that the Vikings had actually stayed there very long and were probably scared away by the local indigenous population. But this isn't our main story today. We simply mention it because we'll soon be talking about a similar discovery made by a simple farmer. His name was Hugh Locke. He lived in Hordag, Ireland in the early 20th century. One day he heard that archaeologists were looking for ancient artifacts near the village, so he decided to take part in the dig. But Hugh didn't expect to find anything. In his spare time, he was just pulling stones out of the ground to make the work of archaeologists easier. But suddenly one of the stones split into 2 and Hugh saw something amazing. It was a fossilized bone with strange ridges and bumps. At first he thought it belonged to a mastodon. After all, scientists had already discovered the remains of these ancient giants in Ireland. But then the archaeologists realized that the bone belonged to a creature that hadn't yet been discovered. Moreover, this fossil turned out to be the oldest piece of evidence of human habitation in Ireland. It was later named Ogympedioris after the local Iron Age people. Scientists also learned that this species of Homo sapiens inhabited Ireland about 700,000 years ago. That's much earlier than previously thought possible. Hugh became famous throughout the country and was awarded the British Academy's prestigious award for his discovery. By the way, it was named after Hugh Locke himself. What do you think? Is there a chance to find fossils in your own backyard? If you live in the United States, you can try your luck in Montana. It's here that the Hell Creek Formation is located, an area rich in fossils that stretches over 360 square miles. According to paleontologists, there's hardly anywhere else on Earth where you could find such a variety of fossils in such a small space. For nearly 150 years now, Montana has been attracting the attention of thousands of fossil hunters from all over the world who come here to see for themselves the legendary beasts of past eras. It was in Montana that in 1942, a young cowboy named Joe B. Jones came across a dinosaur skull. It was sticking out of the ground at an angle like a drain pipe in a house's yard. Joe immediately called professionals who examined the find and concluded it belonged to a horned dinosaur. It was named Ceratops triassicus. A little later, paleontologists determined that this particular species lived 75 million years ago. Another notable find in Montana was made in 1942 by a group of workers building a pipeline. They found a skeleton of a horned dinosaur. The cowboy who led the construction team didn't attach much importance to the discovery and even wanted to order a meat grinder to process the bones. Fortunately, one of the workers objected. This saved the unique specimen, which turned out to be a completely new species of dinosaur, and it was named after the cowboy boss. In the 70s, fossil hunting was still relatively accessible. You could explore public lands and keep whatever you found. It was then that Jack L. White stumbled upon a huge collection of dinosaur bones near Hell Creek. He spent only 2 days carefully cleaning and removing rocks from the fossils. And when he finally finished his work, he saw that he had 3 complete skeletons of Ankylosaurus, a dinosaur whose body was covered with hard bony armor. But not all fossil hunters are so honest. In 1999, a resident of North Dakota stumbled across a patch of land where a dinosaur once grazed. It was a Triceratops. In a fit of anger, the man took revenge on the dinosaur, burning its skeleton in a furnace. However, the fool didn't realize how valuable his prey could be. Later, the man regretted what he'd done and began digging up the remains of the dinosaur from his backyard. He tried to sell the bones to private collectors, but they refused to buy them, saying they were too dirty. Eventually, the man decided to contact the owner of the nearby ranch. He bought the bones and invited paleontologists who confirmed that it was the skeleton of a triceratops. Its horns alone could fetch tens of thousands of dollars. Overall, the dinosaur's skeleton was valued at about $200,000. Unfortunately, the names of the dinosaur's discoverers were never revealed to the public. There are places on Earth where it seems as though nature herself has stored entire museums of ancient creatures. It's just that people haven't noticed it yet. Such a place was discovered by Chinese loggers who stumbled upon a cave filled with fossilized bones. It happened in 1971. The bones were taken out of the cave by truckloads, and eventually a museum was opened next to the cave where the most interesting specimens were put on display. It contains the remains of hundreds of animals from the Triassic period. It's believed that most of the fossils got there accidentally. Scientists believe the animals were washed away by a raging river and then trapped in mud. That's why they were perfectly preserved. One of the most famous fossil hunters of our time is a certain Roy McCall from Canada. Once he went to Ghost Ranch, New Mexico, a place famous for its fossils. There he met with an old friend and local landowner, Marjorie Mitchell. She owned a vast plot of land spanning over 500 acres. Back in the 50s, Marjorie's father had found the remains of a dinosaur on the ranch, which earned the property its reputation. Together with her father, Marjorie excavated several dozen skeletons of ancient creatures, including a rare Smilodon skeleton. Fossils brought Marjorie great fame. She often sold her finds to museums and private collectors. Once she even sold the skeleton of a dinosaur she'd found to President Richard Nixon. At some point, Marjorie began experiencing financial difficulties and she invited Roy to buy some of her fossils. Their agreement stipulated that Roy would pay half the money up front and the rest upon delivery of the fossils. But after examining the skeletons, Roy refused to pay the remaining amount. Then Marjorie threatened to sue him. Their conflict quickly escalated. During the trial, Marjorie claimed that Roy had stolen her most precious fossils, including a T-Rex. Roy denied everything. The court ruled in favor of Roy, believing that he'd merely refused to pay for the poor quality fossils, although they weren't officially declared stolen. It seemed the dispute was over, but Marjorie continued to insist that Roy had stolen her best fossils. Even before the trial, she'd taken pictures of them, and now she published those pictures in magazines, calling for help in finding the skeletons. The FBI got involved, and after the investigation, Roy was arrested. Marjorie was overjoyed, but her joy was short-lived. The FBI agents returned the fossils to Roy, admitting that the evidence against him was weak. Later, the fossils disappeared again, but this time without a trace. Marjorie and Roy remained sworn enemies until the end of their lives, and the case of the stolen fossils still remains unsolved. Have you ever heard of dinosaur bones being sold for insane amounts of money? There are plenty of examples. Once an almost complete skeleton of a tyrannosaur fetched $8 million at auction. This is truly an incredible sum, but there's another fossil that pales in comparison. It's the mineral zircon. It's difficult to overestimate its value. Zircon is a powerful radioactive mineral used in nuclear weapons. What's interesting is that zircons are found in Australia, Brazil, the USA, and Canada. Scientists have calculated that the age of these minerals ranges from 1.1 to 2.6 billion years. Finding such fossils is more like winning the lottery. But if you don't want to waste your time searching, you can simply visit the American Museum of Natural History in New York. There's a zircon crystal from Western Australia on display. Its age is estimated at 4.4 billion years. It's one of the oldest objects on Earth, and perhaps someday it will become the key to unraveling the mysteries of our planet's past. Now it's time to make a wish. Do you want to find a dinosaur skeleton in your backyard, or maybe a zircon crystal? Write your answer below. And that's all for today. See you soon. Bye.